So coming to the replication. So the theoretically we discussed about the replication, right? So now we'll do it practically here. Practically. So practically, so how to perform it, and we'll see it now practically. Okay. So for this one, so there is a one more host name is ready. We have here host. The starting the at Linux box. Okay, so that box is ready, and we see the port number 113. Okay, that is fine. 113. Let me make it 113 here. S4 HANA 1, S4 HANA 2. 113. S4 HANA 2. Okay, so what I'm doing, I'm going to the putty. Just I will type the AP S4 HANA 2. Okay, so then it will open. Then we can so login S4 HANA 2. Okay, so KP S4 HANA, HANA 1 and HANA 2. So we have these two hosts are ready here. So both the host, okay, then same SID, same instance number, right? The first column. So then here we have the HDB ADM, then HDB 0, HDB info, then see whether HANA database is up and running. Yes, same SID, instance number 00. Go to the S4 HANA 2. Then here we have the HDB ADM. Then just type the HDB space info. The here also the same HDB 00 instance number. So both are up and running fine here, right? SKP S4 HANA, KP S4 HANA 2. So both are running fine now here, right? So now as part of the replication configuration, the HANA SAP, the HANA HA configuration. Theoretically, we know so what to do and everything, all the steps we discussed here. SAP HANA HA. So now the both the hosts are up and running fine. Then so you should ping from both the host here, means primary to secondary, which means ping space KPS4 HANA 2. Then you should ping it. Ping means you should get the connection results here. Then we have to maintain the host file here. We have to maintain the host file here. We have to go to here. Then that IP, the target IP details we have to maintain here. That is called the 113, that KPS4 HANA 2. Okay. So 113. So let me check the IP once again. So IP ADDR show. So 113. Okay, fine. So this IP we have to maintain in the etc host file for the host resolution. Now ping APS4 HANA 2, then you should be able to ping it here. So you are getting the response from that system. So then we are good here. You are good here. So 7 packets transmitted, 7 received, and 0 loss. So then we are good. So now at the same time, we have to go to the second host, then vi host. Here we have to maintain the that host details here. That host details we have to maintain it here, right? So this 113, and so we have to 192.168.0. Then APS4 HANA. So primary to secondary, secondary to primary, the host resolution should be there. So it is pinging. So the point number two, it is able to communicate primary KP S4 HANA able to communicate to the S4 HANA 2 able to communicate to the 1, right? So that is done. So both are able to communicate here. So then the next thing is like what is the next thing? We need to exchange the keys from primary to secondary. Exchange the keys from the primary to secondary here, right? The keys are there in the under USR, SAP, USR, SAP, SID, then sys, then sys here, then global, then security, then so we have the RSSCS, then data and key files, data and key files here. This dat files we have to move it here. Then these two files copy it here. These two files we have to move it. Then go to the so here KP site, then KP S4 HANA 2. Okay. So here we have to load it here. In the same location, here we have to load it here. Okay. So then go to the same SAP, then same SID, then sys, then global security, this RSS, same files here. So data and primary to secondary, these key files we have to load it here, right? So why? Because this is the very important here, override, right? We have overridden the files. Then only the secondary will be registered into the primary. This is done. After done, then restart the secondary once. Sometimes what happens after replacing the files, your secondary will not be come up. So we need to stop it, then start it. That is the restart. We have to do it in our systems here. Okay. So that is what we are doing now. So the meanwhile, it is stopped, right? And go to here, then start. So then we'll open the HANA Studio. In the HANA Studio, configure all the system details here, all the system details here. So just click on the add system, then go to APS4 HANA 00, then multi-container system database. Description is the primary. KPS4 HANA is our primary. Next system here, right? System, then so password. Okay, this is connected. So this is primary. So then same way, I will add the KPS4 HANA 2. 2 is the host and 00 multi-container system DB and secondary. Next button. Then system, then same password. So then this is also we are going to add it here. But this is taking time because so might be so there is the firewall system CTL stop firewall D. Okay. So there is a firewall. So that is creating the problem. That firewall D, we have stopped it here. All right. So then click on the OK button. Yes, it's connected now. See, after disabling the firewall, immediately it is connected. So that is the common. So we have the primary is ready, secondary is ready, and the KPS4 and the 2 are ready. Then right click on the system DB. Okay. To configure the replication, just to go the configure the system replication, just provide the SID ADM user, right? So then we have to we have to enable it. Primary, we have to enable it here. Invalid credentials here. Okay. And HDB ADM. Then so we have to enable the replication in the primary here. So it's already enabled last time. Let's disable this one. Last time we have configured, just disable it again. the right click, again go to here, configure the system replication. So why we are doing the replication? In the high availability concept time, so if you enable it, then secondary database also will be available. The same data, whatever the data comes to the primary, same data will be replicated to the secondary as well here. Same data will be replicated to the secondary as well here. So that's the reason. So we are doing this configuration here. We are doing this configuration here. Okay. So that is what we are doing here. All right. Primary, primary primary, so we have to enable, right? So secondary, so secondary register into, so primary, secondary register into the primary here. So while registering, so we have to provide the all the details here. Details means replication modes and operation modes here, right? So here, so enable. So what is the primary site name here? The primary site name. So 21st we have the backup here. That backup will be so restored. That backup will be restored here. Primary PRI. Right. Site name is the primary. So then finish. Right, then log into the secondary, but while registering the secondary into primary, you need to stop the secondary system here. The mandatory stop secondary, stop the system, stop the db, then register the secondary into primary here, right? So here stop it, then only you will get the registration option here. Then go to here, then stop it here, right? Odd stop. So then SID ADM user, we have to stop it. The secondary is not available. Once register the secondary into primary, secondary you cannot access directly secondary. Why? Because so you are registering secondary. So it is stopped mode here. It is stopping here. So once it is stopped here, so then right click on the secondary, then configure the replication here, right? Configure the replication. So when you do this button, so here we have an option called the register the secondary. Then click on the OK button. Okay. Then here we need to provide the details. We have to provide the details here. These details are important here. So replication modes and operation modes concept are there here. Right. So here there are the two types of operation modes and three types of replication modes are there here. Right. So here you can see the secondary site name is the secondary. Just you can put any name here. So here you can see the replication modes. There are the three types of replication modes in HANA. Sync mem, and asynchronous mechanism here. Right? Sync mem, asynchronous mechanism. So what does it mean here? So here, so this is the primary database here. This is the your secondary database here, right? Secondary database here. So type 2. So this is hosted on the KPS4 HANA. KPS4 HANA. And this is hosted on the KPS4 HANA 2, right? KPS4 HANA 2 here. KPS4 HANA 2 here. So both are running fine. So you have enabled the replication. So that is, so then you have enabled the replication. Then secondary, you need to register into the primary, right? Secondary, you need to register into the primary here. So while registering the secondary into primary, so they are the replication modes here, right? So they are the three types of replication modes, or three. So replication modes, sync, then async. So sync mem, sync mem, then async here. So sync replication. What is mean by sync here? Sync means sync means so primary will send the data as soon as so the user's transactions are done here. The primary will send the data to the secondary node. via persistency layer format. It will be persistency layer here. Persistency layer here. That is called the sync. Means memory. So which means the sync concept is like a both are. So both are, the primary will wait for the primary will send the data, then data is received by secondary. The secondary will send the acknowledgement back to primary saying that I have received your transaction. Then so primary will send the one more transaction, then secondary will receive the transaction, will send the acknowledgement, then again third transaction. Like that, one sequence wise, the transactions will be moved to the secondary node without any miss. Why? Because here secondary will, if the secondary send the acknowledgement to the primary, if the secondary send the acknowledgement to the primary, then only then only so then only the primary will send the one more transaction code, until unless primary will not send any transaction here, right? So that is called the replication modes here. So there are the three types of replication modes in HANA. One is the synchronous on disk. Sync means synchronous on disk here. So primary system will wait for committing the transaction until it get the reply. The log is persisted in the secondary system, means the log is stored into the secondary, the data folder level. So this option will guarantee that the immediately consistency between the both the systems here, right? So there is no delay. Immediately, if any failover happens, that same data is available in the secondary also. There is no delay here. So which means the synchronous mode means, actually sync means sync on disk, sync on memory. Okay. Sync on main memory, sync on the disk here. Actually, synchronous means it will primary will wait for the acknowledgement from the secondary. Then only it will send the second transaction. In this way, we have the consistency way transactions. So in case of any failover, we have the data in the secondary as well. So there is no data loss activities here, right? So primary system will wait for the committing the transaction until it gets replay on the log is replay on the persist the log is persisted means the persistency storage means your data folder and log folder on the secondary system. So this will guarantee that the consistency between the both the systems here, right? When connection to the secondary is lost, the primary will continues to the transaction processing, write the changes on the local disk. Why? Because local disk it will write. So no data loss in the scenario. In this scenario, there is no data loss here. But if you go to the synchronous memory, sync mem, the primary system commit the transaction. Primary system commit the transaction. It will commit the transaction after a reply log is received by secondary, which means so both are wait for the acknowledgement. So but sync is it will go to the persistency storage level, then it will commit the next transaction. But here the main thing is the memory level. It will go to the data will be received by secondary will store the data in memory level. So it will in the sync mem, it will send the data to the secondary main memory. Once it is received, then only the primary system will commit the transaction. That is the main thing here, right? So sync mem is difference is sync mem is the main memory level and sync is the disk level, disk storage level here, right? So disk storage level here. So when the connection to the secondary is lost, primary system continues the transaction processing. Means so when the suppose connection is lost here, then primary system will write the transactions to the local disk level. Local disk level, it will happen here, right? So then asynchronous system means primary system commit the transaction. So means primary system will not bother about my secondary is received the transaction or not. Why? Because in asynchronous mode, system will not send any response or any acknowledgement to the primary. In async mode, the secondary will not send any acknowledgement to the primary. But sync mode, secondary will send the acknowledgement to the primary, then only it will commit the transaction, right? Async mode, it will not send any acknowledgement. So if the transaction received or not, it will not bother by the primary. Then primary will keep on committing the transaction, will keep on sending the data. So it will not bother about secondary is received or not. So that is the asynchronous mode here, right? So that these things we have to do it when registering the secondary into primary, either sync or sync mem. So we have to use it. Then there are the three types of operation modes. So delta data shipping and the log replay mechanism here, right? That is the operation modes. Three types of replication modes and two types of replication operation modes here. So delta data shipping means this mode occasionally per default every 10 minutes the delta data takes in place. Addition to the log shipping, the delta data shipping will happen here. So secondary system will receive the log but not replay until you take over. So which means so the primary to secondary the logs will be received but it will keep into the buffer, but it will not be replayed until you take over. But when you use the log replay mechanism, but everybody will choose the log replay mechanism, immediately all the logs in this operation log shipping is done. Immediately system replication is configured. The logs immediately continuously the logs will be continuously the redo logs will be replayed on the secondary system immediately after arrival. After the log received by the secondary, immediately that will be replayed here. So the takeover timelines will be reduced here. Here, every 10 minutes, occasionally data will be moved to the secondary, but logs will not be replayed until the takeover in place. That is the reason the log replay option, we have to choose it here. So here, so what we have to do, we have to choose it here. Either log replay operational mode is common, then synchronous, synchronous memory. These two, either anyone people will choose it here. So the async is the DR scenario. In case DR you are registering to the primary, so that time you need to use the synchronous memory here, right? So then you can choose this one. Then log replay, the source system details like KPS4 HANA. Then so initiate the full data shipping here. Next and finish here. So the problem is here when the secondary is filling the primary is the problem here. So in case of we have not correctly moved the in case we have not correctly moved the files SSF keys, then so you should not able to the secondary will not be registered into the primary here. Sir, where can I check here? You can see the replication status is active, but not all in the sync here. You can go to the system DB of the primary, then here go to the landscape system DB here. You can see the replication modes here, right? You can see the replication modes here. Here KPS4 HANA we have, so that is the active here. So three replicate, so three here. So primary replication status is not active. Why? Because it's replicating. It's active now. So all the data got replicated here. See, it is active status here. So means the replication is active now here. Replication is active. All surveys are active in sync here, which means the data, whatever the data is there in the primary, everything is replicating to the secondary here. Primary, secondary, how many logs are replayed here. So all the information, what is the last log position here. So this is the log position here. Then what is the last log position which is replicated? So all the information will be so shipped log position here. What is the log position in the primary? So log position in the primary, last log position 71617024. So what is the shipped log position? 71617024 here, right? So which means the logs are replaying here. All the logs are replayed here. So then we can see all the information. All the information we can see it here. How much logs are replayed. So full sync. So all the information is displayed here. See, it is active, which means the replication is active now here. Which means whatever the data is there in the primary, all the data it will be moved to the secondary, but secondary cannot access now. Only OS level we can check the logs here. Go to the operating system level, so HDB ADM, then CD trace, then we can see the logs how the data is replicating and all the information. So we can see it here. Site index server log file, we can see it here. What is the loads, how the so is and everything, we can see it here, right? So we can see it here, the replication timelines, the log replay is active. So then, so logs will be replayed. So the logs will be replayed here. So how many logs we have? Preload 100%. So all the data. So if you do one thing here, immediately that will be replayed on the secondary side here. Suppose like, let me go to the add the tenant DB as well here. So in the secondary, so what we have here, roles. So there are the multiple users are there, right? Sunny one, there are the multiple roles. So this user's data is not available in the, this user's data not available in the, this user's data, Sunny. So Ravi 1, Ravi 2, so some then Rajat. So there are the multiple users are there here. This user's data not available in our the main system here, right? Our secondary system, right? Now you configured it. Now you configured it here. Then what we can do here? So we can do the takeover. So right click means we can make it as a secondary as a primary now to see the whether the data, all the data, whatever the data is there in the tenant DB, whether whatever the roles are there here, all the replicated or not. So there are the four roles or five roles are there, custom roles, then users are there. So this should be replicated to the secondary database now, right? Then this is the replication is done. It's synced and it is active. So now right click and do the takeover. Takeover means so secondary will be the primary now. Then so this will be the secondary. Perform the takeover now here, right? So whenever do you done the takeover here, what will happen? So the secondary will be accessible for us now. Then primary secondary will be accessible for now here, which means the system will take over to take over means the primary responsibility will come to the this list here. So which means here the takeover is happening here. Takeover is happening here. So let me add secondary as well here. So what I will do for the description, I can maintain the secondary so that we can easily remember which is the primary. Why? Because SIDs are same. Okay. Secondary tenant DB here, right? When you go to the secondary system, then user roles, see, same users got replicated to the secondary as well. Same users got replicated, same five roles also replicated here, last five. Why? Because these are the custom we created, which means it got replicated. It got replicated the data here, right? So that is what here it is happened in the systems here, right? So that is the replication configuration. This is the way we need to configure the replications here. Simple. Right click and go to the configure the replication. So then disable it. We already configured, right? Disable it, disable it. Then so you can configure it again. You can configure it again here. So this is the way we need to configure the replication here, right? So this is what we have to do it in the systems here. So this is what we have to perform the replication, right? Disable the system replication. So this is the way we can configure the replication configuration. We can sync the data. Whenever anything happens, the perform takeover, the takeover timelines will be reduced here. So in case of if you have the DR scenario, there is a one more database in the another country or another say. So here this will be replicated here. This will be replicated to the here as well here. So from here to here, there is a sync mode. It is a DR. DR not in the async mode here. It is in the asynchronous mode here, right? Asynchronous mode, it will be replicate the data here. Asynchronous mode, it will replicate the data here. So sync and async mode here. So means primary data is replicating to the secondary as well as the your DR site as well, disaster recovery site as well. So in case of primary both are down, then we have the DR. We can enable the DR. So all the data will be replicated to the here as well here DR scenario. Okay, so that is the async and DR scenario. Okay, so this is what the replication configuration. Got it? So you can, if you want, you can configure the replication, both the operating systems. So that is fine. And we have to execute from the root user. One more thing is the restrictions. Source and target versions should be the same. The source and target versions should be the same here. Otherwise, the target is higher than source. Means our secondary system is higher than source, but not the lower than source here. So backup, we have to take it out. Then we can, so once you've done the backup here, all the data we can replicate it here. All the data we can replicate it to the primary to secondary here. That one, we can do that one here. Okay. This is what the replication configuration here. So both the operating system, both the things should be same here. Okay. So any questions, anyone? So it's clear, right? So same procedure here. Same, nothing, just primary right click on the, just you have to have the system, right click, then configure the system replication. Then, so go to the secondary, stop the secondary, then, so then register the secondary into primary. Then while registering, we need to provide the details, replication details and all the details we have to provide. Replication details we have to provide to the system. The details are important here. Okay. That is what we have to do it in the systems.
The key will download it from SAP Marketplace.
Which one?
The key SS.
No. That is key is in the primary system only. That is available under USR, SAP, SIDCs. This one, security and RSS keys. That is available in this folder and OS level only.
Okay.
Just this case, we need to register into the secondary. That's it. In this security, RS. Sorry?
So while doing replication, both the primary and secondary should be up and running, right?
Yeah. But registering the secondary into primary, that time secondary should be stopped status.
Okay. While registering only.
While registering only. Then automatically after the register, so secondary will come to active status. Secondary will come to active status, but you cannot access. When the secondary is replicating, then you cannot access the secondary directly from the studio. Why? Because if you cannot do any changes in the secondary. So if any changes, it should come from primary only when you register.
Okay. Sir, any document is available?
Yes, documents are there. I will share the documentation. Very simple procedure, this replication. Only this thing only they will ask in the interview point of time, replications time. So what are the replication, how to configure, can you explain the steps? So whatever the theoretical steps we discussed, if you explain those things, so those are enough.
I can see one more thing, like there is multiple options. While you have selected in studio, enable secondary database, and I can see another options also disable like that. Can you please show once?
Enable and disable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you going to like this one, these things?
This is a
Register
register
also
means.
you will tell, sir?
Yeah. This is a register means when you are registering the secondary into primary, this one we have to execute it. This one you have to execute on the primary.
Yeah.
This one you have to execute on the secondary. Then when you want to unregister, then you need to execute unregister. When you want to perform the takeover, then you can perform the takeover.
These things also you will teach us. Like,
Right. This is also we have to execute it. But first two we have to execute it. Remaining two we have to execute based upon the scenario situation.
Okay, sir.
Suppose if you want to break the replication, breaking the replication means unregister only, right? Then we have to just select the unregister, then click on the next button, then secondary will be unregistered from the primary.
So perform takeover is nothing but your primary, right?
Takeover is nothing but secondary
Making the
is
primary.
secondary becoming active, and secondary is becoming a primary.
Gotcha.
Normally this is manually takeover we are doing here, but in the real time, they are the cluster OS level. Some tools are there. People will go for some OS level tools here. That is called the face maker and face maker CoroSync. There are some OS level tools. These tools, what will happen? Okay, primary something goes wrong. Immediately the face maker tool will take over it will move the services to the secondary. So you no need to worry, but it will move the services to the secondary. Here, what we are doing here, manually we are doing the takeover. Right click, going, and the manual takeover is possible. But always we are not in front of the system, right? 24 hours. So, so whenever something is happens in the primary, that time it will fail over to secondary. So,
So whenever the
cluster,
primary is up and running, so the failover will switch back to primary and then the secondary to secondary, or we need to do manually.
which one?
So say for example, primary becomes unavailable. So secondary becomes your primary.
Primary.
So whenever your original primary becomes online and available, so this in
Manually,
between the
we have to
systems,
manually do that one. Yeah, we have to manually fail back to the primary.
in Microsoft it will take auto failover. So that
Okay.
switch in between it will take over.
Okay. But here manually we need to fail back. In case of otherwise, if you do something in the secondary, again, sir, all the services will go over to the primary.
Manually we have to switch. Okay.
Here cluster tools we can use it Linux level. So those will move it. But so once the failover is to secondary is done, but after some time immediately the primary is available, it will not fail over immediately. In case something is happens in the secondary, then only it will fail over to the primary. And
Say,
otherwise we have to manually do that one.
so for example, so you can read the data, the tables from your secondary whenever you are configured the application. Basically, that system will be configured to your reporting systems, right? Instead of connecting to the primary, right? So that usually happen in Microsoft. So primary and secondary, that's the instead of using the primary as your reporting consuming more memory, so they'll configure as a secondary as your reporting or the transaction committed to the secondary system. So data availability. So here, can we access the database? We can't write anything, but we can read the things, right? Or it's also
So there is a option. Yeah, we can also just read only enabled option is there. So secondary read only enabled new options. Yes, that is also options are available here. So which means just only we can read the data reporting purpose. So those things we can execute it in the secondary.
okay. We can't write anything. Okay.
Right. Only if any write committed transaction should come from primary only.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, so that is the one. So then tomorrow we have the